I've done this what feels like a million times, but every time I fire a brand new motor, the nerves start hitting me. Today, this is going back into that. This is our brand new motor. We just built it. Manley rods, ACL bearings, ARP studded, Wiseco pistons. Should be a nice solid motor for at least 700 horsepower. Now, before we put the motor back in the car, I am gonna go ahead and swap out the turbo. So this is a 6870. We are running the ETS turbo kit on this car, my favorite turbo kit for a lot of cars. We're gonna be going actually smaller. This may be the only time that I go smaller on a turbo. We are going from the 6870 down to a new 6466. A 6870 maxed out all the way can make easily 1,000 horsepower. I don't want nearly 1,000 horsepower on this car. If we go down to 6466, we'll still make plenty of power, a ton of power, and it's gonna spool sooner. I just got my beautiful brand new 6.4 opened up, and we can get this guy installed. Just kidding. Looks like this car is sticking with a 68mm turbo, which is fine, but here's why. 3-inch, new one, 3.5-inch. Even though this is a 6466, this is a 6870. For some odd reason, I don't know if I ordered the wrong turbo. I'm guessing I did. 3-inch, 3.5. This clamps on here, onto the manifold. So either we'd have to swap out that flange, or we can just run the 6870, which of course is going to make a little bit more power than the 6.4, and I'm not opposed to a little bit more power. So I have something going on tonight at 6:30 p.m. I need to be out of here by 6. It is 2 o'clock. That gives me, if my math is correct, 4 hours to get this motor, to get the transmission, the transfer case, subframe, all the wiring back in, oil system, shifter cables, clutch system. Effectively, we need to get this car running. I don't need to, I want to. Get it running in 4 hours. Is it possible? Probably. If I haven't had done this 10, 15 times in the past, that's impossible. But knowing what I know, I feel like I can get this done in 4 hours. So let's stop talking. There's gonna be a lot of time lapses today. I don't know if y'all like time lapses or not. Some of you probably do, some of you probably don't. But if I'm sitting here babbling all day, it won't even be running tomorrow. I had a goal to get this thing. Let's stop talking. Now I will say, if we start running into problems, I'm not gonna rush it. If all goes smooth, I can easily get this done. But if we have problems, that's when you know it's not worth rushing things. Also, can you believe that a new rear main seal is $100? Makes you not want to replace it, but you probably should. Red Loctite on all the flywheel and clutch hardware. I've had these back out before on a Honda, on the Type R. Not fun. Engine and transmission are bolted together. Little tip for you EVA 10 boys, pull out these studs on the transmission, get everything lined up and then put them back in. I find it so much easier to do it that way. This is ready to go into that. As soon as everything's lined up like that, it's gravy from here on out. After a bit of finagling, motor and transmission are in. Let's take care of a bunch of stuff up top first, wiring, fuel system, the clutch slave, stuff like that. And then we can get the car up in the air and knock out the T-case, subframe, suspension. Always heavy, always very heavy. Making some really good progress. We're definitely gonna get this first start. I have an hour and a half left. I can either do it now, hit the first start now, just do our fluids, or get the car complete and do it right. Let's go ahead and throw that front clip back on, and then it's on to fluids. Car is complete. Now it is time to slow it down a few notches and make sure everything goes smoothly from here. So all that we have left, we have fluids. We need to prime the oil system, make sure that we don't have any leaks, make sure it builds oil pressure, prime the fuel system, make sure it builds pressure, make sure we don't have any leaks, and we can go do a first start. Exciting. I will be doing all of the priming with the spark plugs out. First, let's go ahead and add our transmission gear oil, our engine oil. Coolant we don't need yet, we'll deal with that later. T-case is already full, as you guys saw earlier. For the transmission, we'll be running the Redline Cocktail, 2 MTL, 1 MT90. Engine oil will be the 2050 from Pengrade. I like to go system by system. Here's what I mean. We're gonna prime and verify everything is good with the engine oil, and then we're gonna go fuel system, and then coolant, and then power steering, and then drivetrain. I know drivetrain is topped off. What I mean by drivetrain is we'll set the fluid height later on after we can spin the axles. So starting out with engine oil, fuse 23 is pulled out so the fuel pumps won't prime. Let's go ahead and crank it. Number one, verifying that we do build engine oil engine oil pressure. And number 2, making sure we don't have any severe leaks. I wish the gauges stayed on as you were cranking, but they don't. All right, we got oil pressure. Now for fuel pressure, all I'm gonna do is just turn the key and that cranks the pump. And now we can go to our fuel pressure gauge and make sure we have pressure. Bam, we got pressure. I don't smell any leaks. We have oil pressure, we have fuel pressure. We don't have any engine oil leaks. Let's go ahead and slap in some water for the first start. Once again, this is only for the first start. After we verify there's no coolant system leaks, we'll drain this out and put in our antifreeze. Very last step before the first start, spark plugs in the coil packs. Oh boy, I've done this what feels like a million times. But every time I fire a brand new motor, the nerves start hitting me. Let's see how she goes. Seconds. Let's go kill the motor, make sure our oil level is good. Also, funny enough, look at the time. I had till 6:01 p.m. on the dot. She's done. Of course, there's some little intricate details to finish up, but man, for the most part, today could not have gone any smoother. These last 2 days, I guess. Pulling the motor, building the motor, installing the motor, first start, no hiccups whatsoever. I would say let's go on a first drive, but I'm out of time. Not to mention I did end up breaking a brake line. The steel ones, the factory ones that come off the back of the caliper that run to the frame rail, those things are a freaking piece of junk. If you bend it just a little bit, it cracks. So I bought some stainless ones for that. First drive, coming tomorrow, no questions asked. Very, very stoked with how this went, man. I'm gonna wrap it up right here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you boys in the next video. Goodbye.